Welcome to the 68th episode of DevKami, and I am Chiren.
I am Tristan.
And I'm the guy in not a loving mood swimming.
What do you mean by
it's
not
Valentine's Day.
okay,
Not in a
It's
loving
Valentine's Day
mood.
tomorrow, so
Mhm.
I'm not in a loving mode. I love you guys, but not
not
not,
what?
not in the yeah. Let's not go there. It get complicated really fast. So what we had. So are we talking? Oh, so we should cover our meetings,
Yep,
meetups.
meetups.
What the hell are we talking about? So next week we have a DevOps meetup, I believe, on Tuesday.
On Tuesday. Oh, okay.
I
That's
think
too
so.
bad because it's not here, but looks
The
like
the
Ruby is
Ruby
going to
Ruby
also
Clinic.
have.
Yep,
Yeah, the Ruby Clinic is also going to be meeting on Tuesday.
yep.
Yep.
This third Tuesday. Are they always going to be having the third Tuesday as DevOps, or did they just move it?
I think they resurfaced
The third
pretty
Tuesday?
early. Yeah, not wait.
Is it
Let me
always the
check.
third
No,
Tuesday?
not always. Not
Ah,
reserve.
okay.
I think the second is the safest. Oh, but
Mm.
the second is the safest, but the this Tuesday was KL React.
Mm.
So
Yeah, unfortunately, we
yeah,
we always have the Ruby Clinic on the
yeah,
third Tuesday. Unfortunate,
yeah,
but that's how it is. So,
yeah,
Yeah.
Ruby
yeah.
Code Clinic is happening on Tuesday next week. Rapid River, bring your projects, and we'll be looking at them and diagnosing them.
Mhm.
What else is next?
Okay. Slightly before we had 10-year vision on AI on Sunway iLabs. I don't know who
Who
created this.
organized it? Like
I
who's the
don't
organizer?
know, but Asteric is there apparently. Oh, Sunway
Mm.
iLabs. Uh, then there's
Mm.
this Mindhack AI. I do not know who the hell are they. Seriously, I think that's about. I think that's about the important one next week.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
We have a Malaysian technology expert. I do not know who put there. Not enough detail, but
So
yeah, whatever.
this is more like a panel, I guess.
Yep, it is.
Huh.
So as far as
Okay.
community event concerned, Tuesday, Ruby Code Clinic and DevOps Meetup.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Not a lot of
DevOps,
events.
no, not a
DevOps
lot
is
of
happening
community
at
event. Mind Valley,
DevOps is happening at Mind Valley, and it's to be announced. There's not a lot of speakers yet, so
yeah.
Yeah.
I
I'm
guess.
also I'm
So
also looking for speakers.
no, I just came from. Well, not just came. Like today, I was attending the HubSpot user group meeting, and apparently Singapore HubSpot um
Mhm.
prevent like forbade their employees from leaving Singapore.
Okay.
So the speaker that was supposed to be speaking at the user group was not
Mhm.
there, so she couldn't
Google
come.
Hangout
And
exists for a reason. What the
I
hell?
don't know. They just didn't. But the speaker just sent over their materials, so we'll
Okay,
see.
all right.
Yeah, that's actually interesting, right? This could have been done online, but doesn't have to be physical. It's a
Yep.
presentation. I don't know.
Yep.
That was too bad.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So that's it. No other interesting event happening.
Yeah.
So let's go to the
Nicholas says
news.
there's a virtual
Ah,
hackathon on Facebook, but I don't know. It's not in our calendar, so probably not
yeah,
that interesting.
correct. I'm sorry if it's
We
not there,
only
it's
put
just not there.
Yeah. If it's not on the calendar, it's not interesting. We only put
and
interesting
also
stuff on the calendar.
shameless plug. I'm still looking for a speaker for this month. Go like me
Go
up.
live. Okay.
Yeah.
Or else I'm
So
gonna be the speaker again.
what's the news?
Oh,
Uh,
so
yeah.
did we cover the standard USB charger for phone?
I think we talked about it last
We
week.
talked about it little bit with
Yeah.
Jean,
Sure.
Jean,
Yeah. It's
from like
John.
about
Yeah.
the hardware and right to repair
Yeah.
all
Yep.
of these things. But
Yeah.
we can get you can remind
Yeah.
us about it.
So the EU, or was it the European Commission? They actually voted to making iPhone and Android to use the same charger, and it's not the same.
All of them
It's
are
not.
going to be Lightning ports, really?
Not
An Android with a
USB-C.
no
Lightning
It's more
port?
likely to be
USB-C
Okay.
Lightning.
USB-C.
USB-C Lightning.
Mm-hmm.
So and it's not the first time this happened. Remember why all your phone before USB-C
Yeah,
actually had the same
was
USB
crazy.
type
No.
charger.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So
Okay.
it's
Micro. You mean?
actually micro USB. The reason is in Europe that the same group I I think it's European Commission is actually requiring that often are using the same charger. It's not the first time this happened.
No, it's actually the European Parliament has voted majority in favor.
Yeah.
How majority? How much is the majority? It's 582 versus 40.
Yep.
I wonder who
Yeah,
voted against. Like,
yeah,
who are those 40?
yeah. For
Uh,
instance, that we have a lot of existing cables.
but
Mm.
one thing about European Parliament and also other democracy, lobbying is very powerful and all
So
that. So there's
I'm
that.
interested if you know what is Apple's position on why having dissimilar, like why would a like not similar cables be a hindrance to innovation? Like, why? That's what their
Often,
position is, right? Why?
often the argument for this is you need two standards to compete so that one would actually have better than another. So
Mm.
that's always
Well, I
been the
guess,
argument for this.
but we already know that the USB-C is better than Lightning, right?
Another
So
argument is that USB-C is thicker than the Lightning cable.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so
Ah.
so it would say that you can make it. We can compete on very small thing like that. So I think that it's two side argument for consumer. Sometime so that's the argument, right? Even though it may not make sense because it's a cable that charge power. So there's the little problem. But there is time where this makes sense. For example, you would prefer to have multiple major operating system than having only
Mm-hmm.
one operating system to do one thing. So
Well, for operating systems, it's not a big thing about the environment, right? I think the reason why they wanted to standardize is to avoid waste. Like, if you
yeah,
have cables and you can't
Mm,
use this cable for that cable, like,
yeah,
for example, the HP laptops, Dell
yeah,
laptops,
yeah.
and Lenovo laptops, they're
correct,
all like different. Then
correct.
you can't
Yeah.
reuse the
Will
thing.
that go? Will that
But
go there?
operating
Like,
systems are.
will that be like extended to laptops as well?
Yeah,
Yeah, it can.
that's why they went on USB-C. Originally it
Yeah,
was micro USB for phones,
Yeah.
but
yes,
it's USB-C because they want to also
Y-
for laptops, I
yeah,
guess, for like whatever power delivery requirements until at that point, if it's just a small notebook less
yeah.
than 100
I think
watts,
C
then
is
you
the
should be
right
able to use
standard at the right
USB-C.
time right now.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
correct. Often it's about this. So the next thing on the news is uh, there's a Cisco protocol vulnerability. Well, I don't think it's impact most of us unless some of us actually use Cisco product. Quite a number of those in the GLCs and all that, MNC. So probably but not us. So I think that's fine. Uh,
What is this Cisco protocol? What's
Cisco
newsworthy
Discovery
about it?
Protocol. I don't
Mm.
know. It's Cisco Discovery Protocol. I don't know for sure. Cisco had a lot of some of the proprietary protocol for network management.
Mm-hmm.
So CDP, Cisco, so according to a link on bus on the engineer's mind,
Mm-hmm.
CDP is a proprietary level 2 protocol to discover information about locally attached Cisco equipment. So it's implemented in all Cisco products, including switches, routers, IP phone, and camera.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something like auto discovery, but it's on a level 2 level. This auto discovery like the DNS, not DDNS, what's the one that your printer use? It used to be called Awahi. I don't remember the name now. The standard protocol. Those are level. That is a higher level. That's on the DNS level and all that. So it's not a link level protocol. So yeah, CDP is proprietary auto display protocol for Cisco product, and there's a vulnerability. So what else we have?
There. Well, just new, just now.
Yeah.
Facebook apparently was about to roll out Facebook dating in Europe, but it was forced to call off the launch because EU said they did not they did not inform uh, the parliament or like the commission about privacy risks or something. Like they didn't
Yeah.
announce it, and then they didn't really prove that this was good for privacy, and so they
Mhm.
can't really roll it out. But apparently it's supposed to roll out today.
Mhm.
Well,
Uh,
today in Europe time,
yeah.
so which is like I guess morning in their time.
Need more detail for that later, but interesting. But I think,
Mm.
uh,
I guess they
yeah,
wanted to have
what
it
we,
on Valentine's Day. That's too bad. The timing was bad.
Yeah.
yeah, correct. And also they integrate many product and all that. So,
Mm.
Did you
Facebook
guys
is more
tried it?
interested
Because
in.
I heard like some of them they tried it. Because I didn't use
I
the
No.
mobile
tried
apps.
it.
I think it's only available when you use the mobile app, right?
Correct, correct. So I
I
tried
don't.
it.
I don't actually use the mobile app. I use
Yeah.
Frost, which is like an app that loads the web version of Facebook, and it's actually quite interesting because it's usable. It's not perfect, but there's less of the like you don't really know what an application is doing and or collecting, right? But at least
Yeah.
a browser, you can easily see what it's trying
The
Mhm.
to collect or to send because it's all HTTP because it's a
one of
browser.
the one I think one of the closest appeal privacy might not be appealing to everyone.
Yeah.
Arguably, but the one direct benefit that me stopping the using the Facebook app is the battery life. It gets so much
Yeah.
longer. Yeah.
So that's the thing, right? Yeah, true. Oh well. So the last interesting one for me is actually there's 12,000 Jenkins servers can be exploited
Yeah.
to launch DDoS attack.
It's very dangerous because those provisioning APIs are open or using default credentials, and because Jenkins is actually something like a runner, so you can
Yeah.
literally, if you have the access, you can use it to run anything.
Yes. So Jenkins is actually very powerful because, as Chidong said, it's a runner and not just run thing. It run thing like your script. You can
Yeah,
run operating system and all that.
and worse is
Okay,
that
nowadays you spin VM.
yeah, the worst
Uh,
is that it can access to the host. So let's say
yeah.
you're hosting it on a bare metal machine, you
Mhm.
can access anything. Yeah, depending on
People
how properly you set up your permission, of course.
people may thought that who actually use Jenkins nowadays when use Travis. The short answer is Travis is a bit slow and sometimes you will want to run it on the
Mm,
Nokia machine locally. And the second is traditional organization they tend to run Jenkins because
yeah,
they don't
private
use cloud
stuff.
service as much as we are. So
Our,
yeah,
and also one of the use cases why do we use private cloud is that um, for big data pipeline processing and stuff that you need to build an artifact, it's bloody expensive to do it outside.
yes,
So
correct.
like every time you have to copy it from a source and you have to spin it up and to run it. And also Jenkins is a runner. It's not necessarily just, oh, did you change something, Tristan? The camera
Yeah.
just focus on you.
I'm just testing
Okay,
the
yeah.
camera.
It's a runner, so it's more than just testing and building artifacts. You can use it as an alternative to cron job because at least it produce legible logs and we know about the status of the job. So
Correct.
yeah.
So anything else on the news? Otherwise,
Not so much. The PlayStation, the Nintendo PlayStation is up for sale.
uh huh.
Which
Oh
play
yeah, that's
your
also
PlayStation?
Nintendo PlayStation. The
Nintendo PlayStation. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Why, what's
It's a very
the
interesting
why
story.
is it combined?
No, it's
an old project by Sony and Nintendo.
PlayStation is actually initiated by Nintendo because Nintendo commissioned Sony to build their latest console.
Yeah.
I mean, but they actually back off. So Sony just just proceed with it, and it ended up being one of the major competitor of Nintendo. Yeah, it's a bit
it's actually
unfortunate.
part of the book I read, Console Wars. So it's actually a bit more interesting in a way that according to the parties involved, Sony are using want to get into the game business, so that they when Nintendo and Sony was collaborating, what they want they actually want to get into the CD business. So they do get up to a level, then Nintendo, being a jerk, decided to back off and use another vendor for the CD product, which messed the hell out of Sony, which do have some interest in computer technology, including console. Then what happened then is, precisely, a lot of it is a CD-ROM. It's the CD-ROM project. After that, they actually have a talk with Sega, but Sega want to do things themselves. They back off according to the party. It's in Console Wars. Then Sony ends up doing their own product because they have the capability, and somebody really want to build a game console. So
I
now
doubt though that Nintendo is a competitor of PlayStation and Xbox. I think Xbox and
at
PlayStation are
those
competitors of
days
each other.
in the 90s, yes.
Yeah. In the 90s, they
they're
actually dominated the market. The only players were major players were Sega, which only dominated the Western, like the Western countries. But for the rest of the places, it's Nintendo.
You need to understand that at that time in the 90s, Sony, that do have very limited game development experience and all that, tried to get into the market as a consumer giant. You were worried because of the gameplay and all that. But so what happened, what it ends up is that Sony do hire a few people to push the product and all that, set up the game industry and build SDK, make it easier for developer to build product. It's not as easy as getting an Apple license, for example, but it's easier at those days. So they dominate market after that. Problem is Sony, Japanese company, being a jerk inside, according to the note. Yeah, so they fire off all the Americans, then take over. So the Americans are doing some good job pushing it out. Then they did their job so well. Sony America did it so well. Then they got successful. Then for some reason they just fired them off.
Do you have the name of the book that you read?
It's called Console Wars.
Console Wars. Okay.
Yeah. Console Wars is less toward a technology book. It's more a technology business book. Major players are mostly marketing and salesperson, but it's still a very good insight on how it works. You do not get enough insight of how the technology works, but you do get a lot of story how the sales work. So yeah,
I'm gonna share
but
it
it's
out.
still a very interesting story. So that being said, shall we go on our main topic?
Yeah.
Love and hate.
Yeah. What are you doing right now, Swimming?
So talk about my love and hate. Okay. So fun story. I may be telling this story way too many times. Okay, way too many times. When in '98 I get my first computer. I do some game and all that. I want to do a bit more. I want to do a bit more.
Far?
Yeah. It's relevant. It's actually relevant. Then I was like, I want to be a hacker. I don't know. It sounds cool. I do not know how I go there. So I read Eric Raymond. Nowadays I think he had problematic political ideology and real world opinion, but in terms of software and technology, he's pretty respectable.
Yeah.
He wrote some important Pro Tools. He wrote a mail server, I believe, and one of the early founder of open source, not free software, open source, the open source as we know it today. This is way after Richard Stallman GPL. So one of the article he wrote is that, so you want to be a hacker. So he's about, that's where I learned about an older definition of hacker, people that love technology and all that. So I want to be that. And one of the things he recommends is to learn Python. I dabble with QBasic at Windows 98 bundled with QBasic. One of those things that nobody knows about, almost nobody knows about. You can't do that many things, but you can do enough things on it, so you can get QBasic. But I didn't get enough, so I learned Python, right? Because that's the hacker language, right?
Really?
Yeah.
The hacker language was Perl.
The reason everyone recommend is at that time in the 98, Perl is on his radar. He's what actually recommend that we should move from Perl to Python.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, he recommended that, but Perl didn't actually die. Perl is still big in bioinformatics for quite a while. But I was young, I was 14 or so I think 14, 15 or so.
You're innocent.
So Python ends up with my first major useful programming language. So that's my first love, actually, in programming, not people sense, right? So that's why, but it's not enough. It's really not enough to drag me there. I can do a lot of things. I learned Fibonacci and all that, but never really sticks there, right? So it leads me until 17. It's relevant to Python. I go back to Python again. So 17, I learned C on my own with Dev C++, right? That's where I learned things about memory structure and all that. For some reason, I got a data structure book, so I don't remember the name. So either way, I understand it. I understand the power of computers somehow. I fall in love with computing. And this is actually relevant because I go along there. Everything I learned in Python makes sense now. Totally makes sense now. In C, you want to build build array like you do in modern language nowadays. You have to allocate it one data type at a time. You have to free it, otherwise you got memory leak. There's array and there's pointer. Then to build flexible data structure, you have to use pointer to point to a structure, so you get list. Then from that, you build a node using a structure, then chain it together. You get a tree. Okay, you get a tree, binary tree, and all that. Then as I go on, I realized that that's what people does. That's what people does with high-level language, right? Then everything just makes sense now. So I didn't get serious until computing. I get some idea that in my university much later, I discovered scraping an API called HTTP API. That's around mid-early 2000s or so. So do you remember the time where Twitter API is very easy to use?
Mm-hmm.
You literally supply your username, password, and get it done.
Actually, it's just code.
Yeah, I
It was just
discovered
code.
much later. So either way, I use a lot of Python and all that. That's my first real love for language because I do quite a lot of things and build a lot of my professional life, which is why Python is my first love. But the thing is, I have my love-hate relationship with Python for very good reason, right? The way Python 2 object-oriented is very weird compared to Java and all that. For example, in the early days, I'm not sure whether I do it, but I still do it out of habit. To inherit object, you have to inherit the base object in Python, so that I can get all the attribute for Python object. In most language, you don't have to do that. You don't really have to do that. You inherit something, you just inherit something, right? You just get something out of it. A lot of the magic in Python, they use a lot of underscore method. like underscore underscore init instead of a constructor, but then arguably constructor is a magic third word, so there's that. Uh, so quite a lot of things. So one thing about I want to say about Python is that it's not as clean as people say it is when it comes to the language structure. Yes, you get better over time. Yes, if you do it properly, it's very readable. Uh, Even though people
Relax.
complain about indentation based problem, yeah, indent your code and it will come out. But
Yeah,
it make it
that is
very
normal.
hard. It make it not as easy for you to do closure. So as a result, you can't pass function to a function easily, but it does make it explicit. So it's a very readable language, it's a very flexible language. But what I don't like about it is sometimes the decision that made on Python doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense in a way that it can look weird as you go deeper into the language. So that's my first love and hate for my first love for programming language. So any question?
No.
I want to know who you hate.
Who I hate as a person or who I hate as.
I don't know.
So the thing is, I love computing. Computing as a little universe is awesome. It's comfortable to hide into it. It's the own little world that we can conjure magic, right? Uh, we can make screens spark. We can connect to different things. We can talk in language, secret language that nobody talks about. It's like talking uh, Sindari, right? Elvish, if that's for a layperson, uh, or Latin, just because, right? But you have a secret cup of thing and all that. It's awesome. You can do so many things, right? But ultimately, it's things within computers. It's very insular, uh, which is fine. I love little puzzles that is self-contained. I really love that. But often this also leads to one problem. We use computer to solve real world problem, and a lot of the tech person that I know of, some I personally know of, have tendency to think that computing is the only way for you to solve a problem. I do not know why. Among my circle, we have a lot of arrogant people that thinks that their way is the only way to solve a problem. Uh, Politics. So they would automatically thought, let's replace politicians with an AI.
I would love
Uh,
that. Sorry.
yeah, but think about it's not really about politician in a way. Yes, they can override the problem, but it's like five politicians that override decision.
The one that irks
Uh,
me is like they try to solve. Some of the people like try to solve, try to just lump things. Like, let's solve
Correct.
the traffic condition issue with AI. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Yes. It's so in a way that if it fall to a trap that it works on my hardware, it's awesome. To somewhere a bit further, AI is a pixie dust that automatically solve things for you. We are learning the fact that there is a real world problem at stake here, right? People would think that with AI, it can make car efficient. We are thinking that, well, you also need to make road walkable. Otherwise, you can make car walk so fast. I do not know how the hell you can cross the road. For example, uh, policy making is one of those things about people talking and not something automatically solved for you. It's not a small scale SimCity experiment or pathfinding algorithm to go point A to point B. Uh, Complex system is complex, which is actually the moral of Jurassic Park. The moral of Jurassic Park is not about dinosaur running away and eat people. The moral of Jurassic Park is you are human are so hubris, you cannot control complex system like nature. life will find a way, right? You can be so smart that you can control everything, and it ends up not. That's actually the moral of Jurassic Park. Uh, so real world is like that, and we nerds have problem thinking that way because it works on my hardware. It goes back to it works on my computer. Yeah, so and as a result, they just think that their disruption is important without thinking there is no society in their mind just because it works on the computer. That's my love hate about technology industry. It's a self-contained system that ignore the real world. Yeah. As a result, I secretly hate a lot of the tech person in my
Dude,
circle.
can we see your list privately afterwards?
I have a long list. Yeah.
I don't mind. We have time.
Yes. So what do you guys think?
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you
Yeah.
guys
Oh,
love and hate?
I think Chiliong has a bit of a rant with Golang, right?
Let's talk about love. Uh,
Mm.
love
Let's
first.
talk
Like
about love.
it's the no the feeling that I I pick up when I first pick up Python because I used to do a lot of still doing a lot of stupidly pipelining work. And when I first pick up Python, because I don't have to do those comparably from C and C++ last time, is that you have to do a lot of those boilerplates to to build your Python has a richer standard library. So
Mhm.
when first started using Python, the thing that came in mind was like, wow, I still remember it vividly. Is that wow, the productivity is so good, like I can just translate directly what I'm thinking. But nowadays the thing, like I'm using a lot of Golang just in case people don't know about it, is that I really like to use Golang to do
I'll be
like
back.
to fix those kind of things that requires fine tuning, like fix like doing like some to fixing performance of a certain pipeline to to do something like passing packets around those. But it to do a higher level things like the REST API and stuff is like really repetitive. There's a lot of boilerplates. I really wish the generic is there. So
Oh,
yep,
But
that's
but
my
do you have
complaint
to
about
roll
it.
your own? But I thought like there are frameworks there which
There
like you can roll
there
your own, but you
there
can
are
just
stuff
use
that
this library.
the the unfortunate part is that um, often the system that we do requires a bit of a we cannot just use like the authentication system and everything is pretty much like for the system that I'm building right now, we have two kind of authentication system for different kind of users. So if we like, let's say like if I'm using a let's say I'm more familiar with Python besides Golang, is like if I'm using let's say Django is gonna be really more work for me to do to implement different like depending on which route it is, I'm gonna enforce a different kind of authentication.
Mm.
So and a lot of our stuff are pretty custom, but I wish I have something that like I have something that is higher level. Like a lot of
Mm.
the work are pretty repetitive, especially in terms of validating like user input. Like I don't think there are any framework for that. It's actually no brainer to do it. Like just check because of the static type behavior of the language. But I still need to validate the results and to handle the error and then to pass like to give out proper error messages to to the HTTP response. So those things are really repetitive, and I really wish it is much more higher level.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Yep, that's the love and hate
That's your love
experience.
hate. That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Mm.
What sort of? I don't have a much other things there, but the
Yeah.
Python
Well.
experience was really I was the most memorable one because it was immediately I was so happy like the 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 mind is one to one synchronous with my hands at that time. I was so happy that like compare, but of course yeah, I did. PHP before that for web, and I was using this horrible framework called Symfony, but not the Symfony right now, the Symfony 1, which is like the worst thing about Symfony 1 is there is two ORM.
Mhm.
Two what?
There's
Sorry.
two.
There's two ORM for the framework. And we had
Two
to
what?
switch
Sorry.
to ORM.
I don't. I think over
ORM,
Object
over.
relational
ORM,
mapper.
like
Ah,
active records.
ORMs. There are two
Yeah.
ORMs.
Yeah, and different ways of doing routings. And the render is very opinionated. It was before the time of jQuery, so it was like I remember it's called the framework that is integrated with called Prototype.js. So
Oh, I remember.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember.
everything is so opinionated and so tightly coupled. So I think Symfony actually learned their lesson from one, but unfortunately, I get all my bad experience from doing Symfony 1. So Symfony 2, to explain a bit, like Symfony 2, they became one of the best component-based framework around. So that a lot of other libraries, like frameworks like Laravel, which a lot of them, they use components, parts and pieces from Symfony. So I think they fixed that problem for the version 2, but for 1, the experience was really horrible. So and
Yeah.
the exposure to Python was so much better.
I was lucky because I don't think I passed through the PHP phase, so I never actually
I
got to do PHP.
I partially passed through PHP phase, not as a professor capacity, but one of the forward thinking at that time it is forward thinking in the university is that one of the lecturer decided to turn one course into partially using PHP and open source database. It's a database course. So I got my PHP experience, not a very good one, but uh,
But
at
of course, that
time,
was okay. I'll let Simi finish first.
at that time, it makes sense because at that moment, it somewhat makes sense because you can have a very rich processing for your HTML. PHP is about processing HTML at that time.
And also like at that time the alternative is the PHP is like the open source the best in kind for open source. There was before like even Ruby on Rails.
Yeah,
So, but I think no, Ruby on Rails is there, but it's not as critical mass as before
correct.
it reaches
PHP.
critical mass. Yeah. So PHP was like if you want to do web in a open source the option is one of the major option for doing web development in of course the alternative is Java. So
Yeah,
Java
and
applets.
Visual Basic,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to
Yeah.
tie the timeline a bit, it was the time that I'm doing Flash.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of timeline. And
Yeah. So speaking of PHP though, I remember and also speaking of like swimming, doing some React course. Did you
Mhm.
notice that a lot of React, like legacy React code bases, look like PHP?
yeah,
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
still for some reason
it is PHP.
JSX is about processing XML and all
Yeah.
HTML and all that. Uh, it somewhat makes sense, but again, people learn the old lesson again. So one thing that
Yeah.
people do learn from PHP is that do not do everything in one PHP file like HTML. PHP are not so you can use PHP as a very powerful
Yeah.
plugin for HTML.
So you'll
You should
have
not
like
do that.
HTML and then you'll have
Yeah,
PHP code in the middle.
yeah,
Don't you notice that a lot of the React stuff there, like the legacy
yes,
ones, you'll have HTML in that is
yeah,
like, I mean, it's HTML like JSX, and then you'll have
yeah,
JavaScript in the middle. And
yes.
then it's
Yeah.
like, this is PHP. Well, this
It
is
is.
JavaScript, but in PHP
Yeah.
Yes,
format.
the runtime is at a
What?
different place, but the same idea, and we
The
learn the same lesson again. I
the
split those
worst
out.
the worst is actually it's not that it's an inferior product, but
Yeah,
Preact, the one that server side, they call it server side rendering, isn't that
yeah,
Mhm.
PHP?
yeah.
Yeah.
So as a result, one reason why a lot of people find it Ruby on Rails and the similar idea very welcoming is that turns out that splitting up everything instead of putting it into one file is a very awesome way to work,
It
right?
is.
They
So as
started the trend of the way of doing web in MVC.
style,
Well,
yeah,
the thing there is that a lot of people, like, again, you there no matter the language, you will still see a lot of people putting in Ruby code inside the view, and it still looks like PHP, especially because the CGLs for ERB is like the angle bracket and then percent,
mhm,
which is like just almost like the angle bracket question mark PHP, and like it
correct,
and then if the shortcut, right, the angle bracket question mark, you'll have angle bracket percent, which is just almost looks the same. So any language, they just like the coupling that PHP allowed you to do, they just find, oh, this is powerful, I'll just do this
yeah,
over and over again, and then they find themselves entangled with the mess that
yes,
they just did, because
correct.
it's
Which is
too
why,
apparently too difficult to use like
Meanwhile,
proper uh,
meanwhile, there is another more extreme end which I used to use, like the the very XML templating that's very limiting. So you're basically like writing SSLT
mhm,
as a
mhm,
templating. So XML to modify the XML within, like let's say a for loop,
yeah,
you
yeah,
have a parent one that, but because people are trying to avoid writing this kind of like let's say Python within the templating
mhm,
language, they ended up putting more restraint and into it, so like trying to force something that isn't to behave like to like a logic programming language for logic.
yes. So I think, yeah, which lead to my other hate web development, but I don't want to dominate the topic.
what? You don't like web development?
I
This is the
Uh,
great equalizer, don't you know? Browsers are like
no,
the
I
platform what
love web
Java
development.
wanted to be.
I
I
love web
really
development.
I
It's open to
liked
everyone.
I really liked web development because I came from the crappy way of doing web development. I like
Mhm.
the more
Yeah.
any modern way is much better than the
Yes.
old ways.
Yeah. Yeah, but
And
swimming, why don't you
disclaimer.
like it? This is
No,
what Java was aiming for.
I love web development in the way that it's very accessible. It's very powerful.
Yeah.
What I don't like about the web development is you guys
The
have
people,
autism.
the people is
I'm sorry, you guys have attention deficit disorder. Okay, you
no, I
web
Well,
don't.
that's
developers have
that's
attention
what you get when
No,
the whole thing
I I
is
don't.
accessible.
I don't like.
But
I just I was sticking with Angular one until like 2 years ago, and then
So
Google really announced that please, like just like Python 2, we set a deadline. Please stop using it, but we don't want to
yeah,
move on to Angular 2 because it's, I don't know, it doesn't make sense
then
to
suddenly
us.
you have Angular 3. I mean, come on, people,
it's now
focus.
Angular 9. Did you
Yeah.
know? Angular 9. Angular 9 was just
Remember what I
released.
said? You guys is like a bunch of people have attention deficit.
Uh,
Okay,
I
at
stuck
one
on. I
minute,
stuck on.
at 1 minute you said I was at one whole year between 1 year. And it's actually awesome for other reasons, but let's say one thing I hate first. At 1 minute, everybody was hyping on Redux. Then suddenly it's like, no, we should not use Redux. I was at the phase where everyone was
Oh,
think, on the phase where they want to do object oriented
you
way of
missed the
thinking. Then
phase.
suddenly everything,
You missed the phase of reactive programming like
Mhm.
RxJS. And
yeah, and that is something that I miss somehow, right?
yeah.
That's
I
it's
mean,
still on
yes, it's a
Angular too, you know?
and
I
it's crazy.
I actually I'm guilty. I actually prefer that method over.
Mm.
It's not mutually exclusive, but I prefer reactivity over like the current.
Mm.
It makes more sense for you for to handle events, and it's
Yeah,
not mutually exclusive because Redux is actually a centralized state management, and
yeah.
RX is actually reactive. Is actually a centralized event management. So, but unfortunately, the way if you try to use both of them, you're gonna be, yeah, it's on your own.
Mm.
Excuse
Guys,
me.
So why
But on the
swimming?
other,
Why is it that you think that people just want to like go for the shiny things.
Yeah.
It's okay. So it's not a person per se. It's
So,
more like a collective attention
Yeah.
deficit, I believe.
Yeah. Why do you think it's that?
yeah.
Uh, on one hand, it's awesome because within the decade, we literally moved from jQuery, which can be very messy at times, into something very organized for front end development. Notice that,
Mm-hmm.
which is awesome.
I don't know.
And we do it.
I like it. like it.
I also like it, but it's more organized. I'm finding the modern way more organized, right? But you also jump very fast. I do not know how you have application
You want me
without
to?
changing.
I have a very hard truth to say about it. Why do we
Yeah,
keep reinventing stuff? Because our work is is we are doing boring works like information tech. Information system are actually just most of the time
very
crud.
boring. Yes.
So it doesn't change. Like even if, even even if you use something like from 20 years ago, and we can still deliver whatever the customer might want.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, in order to make it more fun, we use flashy stuff. We have to use
Yeah.
flashy stuff. It's actually a distraction from the reality. Our,
But there is more and more interesting way to do things. For example, yesterday I discovered that JavaScript discovered pipeline operator. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
it's fine. I like it. I like the optional chaining as well.
Yeah, but
Yeah, even though logically I still questions, but it's fine. It's just save me some. It's sometimes like probably 1% of the time it's gonna save me a few lines.
so I was at the server-side language world. You know how often those things change? You know, Django take them like 5-10 years to totally change the
Yeah.
way a new framework works, how their framework works nowadays.
Mm.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Uh, things that I learned from Django in 2008 is applicable until 2-3 years back. Before they go up to 1.12 or something, because they changed the make database foreign key delete, behavior explicit, which is a good idea actually. But the change is slow. That's my point, and we get to deliver
But
products,
something that
right?
I still have to give credit to some of these latest tool like React or
Yeah.
like containers and stuff is that it makes collaboration much easier. Like
Yes.
I find it like easier to just assign. Oh, you just do this component, so I can reintegrate them compared
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
But
to the
but
way
isn't
we.
that how they did libraries before? Like Linus Torvalds doesn't do the whole Linux kernel by
Yeah.
Uh,
himself. This
No, I mean
already like
comparing
what?
it to
componentized.
to really beginners like people that have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
We can still throw them something and they can still be
Uh,
productive.
so the thing is, JavaScript don't have the. Do JavaScript have interface?
I don't
No, there's
know.
no interface.
There
Like
is
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
in
Yeah.
because
TypeScript.
I guess it's duck type
Yeah,
in the sense that you can call something and then you get an error on runtime
Uh,
if it
yeah.
exists, and you
so
can add to the prototype
Let me do a
whenever you want.
search.
Yeah.
so it's a similar. Okay. So web development on the front end side, I focus on the front end side. It's actually in a way very similar to desktop development in a way that it's widget driven. Your Qt library, the Qt, or you like to call it, is event based. Your on your .NET, you have code behind with event calling through and all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
JavaScript, until recently, uh, I mean, my recent is actually pretty long back for you guys. We don't have a discipline the same way that to write a code, you need to have this structure. You need to implement this method. That's what interface does.
Oops.
That's what interface does. You see, what React Angular order is to make it easier for you to collaborate because when you build your application traditionally, you need to implement A, B, C, and D because that's the interface.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
So it's
React
not
only have
enforced. It's just that your application doesn't work if you don't
yeah,
follow the React interface.
correct. And it's also very and also along the way we discovered different way to interact. Front-end development is very heavy on interaction. Uh, so coding is doesn't change this forever. For example, your location, your event, mouse event, all that, those things doesn't change for a while. Those things is there for a while. But what is new is that you have new method uh, to make it easier to lay out your stuff. For example, your grid system and all that is very dependent on it and all that. Uh, it's very heavy on interactivity, and it's only recently that we developed the discipline to have a similar way to do things, so that we can handle all these events well enough for things to work, right? In the old days, to build a server-side app, you have to have some form of interface for you to make it work. Front end only have that recent-ish.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my thing, right? It's a lesson we learn on the very different environment. So yeah,
Mm.
so there's
We
that.
we haven't talked about the story from Tristan's.
Yeah, Tristan, tell
No,
us what you love or hate.
I'm a simple person, so I like Ruby, and because I tried it like since 2008 or something,
Yeah,
like
uh-huh.
quite early on,
Yep.
and but I was a Java programmer back then. I tried to
Yeah.
like, oh, there's actually a JRuby project, and of course your
Yeah.
manager will say, please don't do that. Even though
Yeah.
I can say, oh, but it I can call the Java objects, and you can
Mhm.
call my Java objects and those things. But then of course nobody
Yeah.
really does Ruby. It was too early um to actually uh like adopt the language of
Yep.
in production, at least in that company. But
Yep.
so it's a good I like it a lot because it's very expressive. I guess it's the same
Yeah.
experience as Chilong with the Python, that this is
Yeah.
what I want, and I can express it like this. My only like grief against Ruby is that it's the development is a bit so the most of the languages now, the mainstream languages, they're
Mhm.
they're easily portable to other systems.
Yeah.
And it the longest time it was always like the C Ruby. So you needed a C compiler. They didn't go to LLVM, which then can target other platforms like ARM, for example.
Yeah.
Like it's quite difficult to port Ruby itself to different platforms. And let's say JavaScript is now being ported to some microcontrollers. Same with Python. Python actually led the charge here. Lua is working there. Go has it. Um, Basically, if LLVM supports it, any system that uses LLVM can support that platform. So any language that compiles through LLVM can support that platform, and Ruby does not. And there's just a lot of, I'm not sure what's happening in the development of the language, but there are uh, some things that are preventing Ruby from moving along. And
Mhm.
of course, the fear there is that, um, especially with WebAssembly, right? Like Ruby is not, I don't think there's a WebWasm target for Ruby, whereas everyone else is already targeting WebAssembly just because they want to be um, they want to be relevant in the future. In the
Yeah.
future, the browser is the platform,
Yeah.
and this
Yes.
is like your
I think
lowest level code.
I think most languages they learn from the lesson of Perl.
Mhm.
So
Mm-hmm.
the problem of Perl is that nobody can reach a consensus, and when when the design came out and everything, it was too late.
Mhm.
So it was
Yeah.
dragged on for over 10 years to move on.
Yes.
So it became too late when things come
And
out.
nobody will even use the new language. Even Larry Wall just like said, "I'm not go, I'm not touching this thing," and not but
Yeah.
more politely, right? Like, oh,
Yeah.
it deserves new leadership or something,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it's not Perl anymore. It's
yeah,
something else. It might be
Yes.
superior, but it's not Perl.
yeah,
Mhm.
And I guess that's the thing. It's like, if you want to be relevant, you need to target the browser. You need to be able to compile to WASM,
Yep.
and that's the thing. It's a really good language, but it's not moving forward. So I guess this is the con with what Swimming was talking about. It's stable enough that it's too stable that people, the maintainers, don't want to move it forward.
Yes. Uh, is there a Ruby specification?
No, there isn't.
Yeah, I think
There
that
is
is one
a
which is
Yeah, well, there is a set of tests that is like the de facto Ruby specification. If and that came about like for after. So the story there is, what was that interpreter?
yep.
There was another interpreter. So there was the C Ruby, and then there was another interpreter, and of course
Mhm.
they wanted to make sure that they're compatible, like a drop-in
yeah,
replacement. But they couldn't do it because there's just so much magic in C Ruby. You can't like get all of the states, and you can't list them down, right?
yeah,
And so
Mhm.
that's why the Ruby spec came about, like this test suite, to
Yep.
confirm that what you say is Ruby is
yeah,
actually like covered by the test. Unfortunately, the definition of Ruby is what Ruby does. That is currently the definition of Ruby.
Right. Is there
What
a
Ruby does
CRB
is,
processes?
no, it's just on the mailing list.
So
Okay.
Rubinius.
Ah, yeah,
Yeah,
Rubinius. So that's actually a very, so does away with the global interpreter lock. It like all libraries, they don't have C libraries, or less C libraries than the original one, because they implement it on Ruby itself, and it's
yeah,
very fast. So they're the ones who actually pushed for the spec, because
yeah.
they wanted to make sure that the Rubinius interpreter is the
Yeah.
same, or does the same
One
things
thing,
as C Ruby.
one thing that a lot of languages nowadays they try to be self-hosted. Like,
Yeah.
but Python has its own like another project called PyPy, and Golang is written in Go. So the point is the optimization like JIT everything can be done much more clearer instead of relying
Mm-hmm.
on like the implementators has to rely on like let's say C to in order to do this optimization instead of the letting the language itself optimize itself out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And also having a language spec is very helpful to move to situation where your hardware, especially, right?
So let's hope there's the best to Ruby.
Yeah. Correct.
Oh, we don't know. So I guess as soon as Ruby 3 is out, then maybe, because right now there's a singular goal, and the best thing about singular goal is you get everyone, even the dissenters, like unified, right? Because there's
Yeah.
the goal. We want
Yeah.
to do this, and it's a very specific, tangible goal. So
Yeah.
one, which is Ruby 3.0. Once that is reached, I feel that all of these things, like all of these new innovations, all of these new ideas, will come from that, because that is a stable platform. Like Ruby
Yeah.
3.0 is a major release. Right now, it's Ruby 2.7, I
Is it
think.
gonna break compatibility like Python, or you're gonna be
No,
just works?
there are some compatibility changes, like from 1 to 2, and there will be some from 2
Oh,
to 3, but
it's
it's
actually
not
gonna
that
remove the
bad.
Geo.
Yeah. I don't know. Will it?
Yeah,
I
the
don't
the
think
thing that
so.
I'm visiting a website is the goals the three main goals is performance and
Yeah.
removal of limits of queue and static type checker.
Mm. Yeah, so it's not about the Jill. Jill is there.
Yeah,
It's a
okay.
cornerstone of Ruby. It's because thinking about concurrency is difficult.
Yeah, it's very hard to
That's
share
why,
memory. Yeah, if you want
yeah,
to
so
have
that's
a
why Jill is
flexible
there.
model, the language can be hard to implement to
Yeah.
interface as well.
And And Ruby is it's not like Go. Go is a new language. That's why they can bake in concurrency as part
Yeah.
of the language. But Ruby is not a new language. It was done in a time before concurrency was important. So that's why the Jill is there as part of the language. Maybe in the future it will change, but that it's there right now. But yeah, it's about like it's a big thing. It's a big change, and as soon as that is out, then most likely all of these new innovations should come out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Most
But I think
likely,
yeah,
I would really love to have Ruby target the browser,
Yeah, that would be
uh,
interesting.
yeah.
because that's the next platform. Are we taking bets on the future? I really think
Well, that's
uh
given. Unfortunately, that's already given.
I
yeah.
think everybody has
So
a. I mean, everybody has a vested interest in making sure
mm,
WebAssembly work.
Yeah.
Right?
yeah, because JavaScript's only advantage is that it was like the first mover in the browser,
Yeah.
right? It just so
Correct.
happened to be the first one. That's why all
Yeah.
everything is happening in JavaScript. But
Correct.
everyone else is catching up, and now you have WebAssembly, which now evens the playing field for every other language because now they can just target WebAssembly. And then
Yeah.
why should you use JavaScript when it's so much easier to understand what's happening in this particular language, or it's the
Yeah.
same language from the back end and the front end or whatever, right? So now the first mover advantage of JavaScript is going to go away soon.
Yeah. I
Then
have
now
a
they'll go to style sheets, and you can program style sheets in
Yeah.
JavaScript.
yeah.
Yay!
I mean, I have a doubt because
CSS.
my reason and my doubt is that JavaScript is not the worst language. But then I start my professional life started with COBOL, so everything nothing worse than that.
It's not worse, but it's actually burdened by all the backwards compatibility.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the problem with JavaScript is you support all the syntax that came previously in order to not
Mm-hmm.
break the web.
Yep.
And there should be like some kind of strict mode
Yeah.
where
There's already
if
a
you
strict mode. There's
is there
already
a
a
strict
strict
mode,
mode.
like a
Yes.
Yeah.
strict mode,
Yes.
or
Strict.
so
Yes.
that you
Yes.
cannot compare not
That's why
like objects that are not the same. Like if you compare a one with an object, you
that's
somehow get a result or something. I don't
that's a
know.
strict mode.
So
It's
all
already
of these
occupied.
Yeah.
things,
Yeah. Strict mode
strict
exists.
mode.
Yeah. I used to use
It has
that
to be
for
stricter.
yeah. Yes,
No,
I mean
it's just that
stricter.
not used. It's not used as often.
I
No,
used to
but
use
I'm
it.
sure TypeScript would be using it, right? But
Yeah.
there should be like an even stricter mode so that like any future project or any browser would then enable the next generation. Like,
Yeah.
well, this is probably the way you can
I think
deprecate,
I
like
think with
say
uh
it's not
I
compatible.
think with WebAssembly it doesn't matter anymore. We can run
Yeah.
whatever language we
Yeah.
want on. Like we can even like do use let's say like Python that that interacts directly with the DOM. What I mean,
Mm-hmm.
but right now there's still some limitation on WebAssembly. But until we can do like when it's released, then we can do all sort of silly stuff on. We might be
Yeah.
able to even like host our own small server within the page.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What
So
what's
all
could
sort of
happen, right?
yeah, what sort of stuff that we can do.
Yeah. Uh,
So yeah, I
I
think
might
we need
learn
to wrap
So
up.
Flutter before that.
Yeah,
do you have any comments that we want to
uh,
read out or shout out?
yeah. No, there's a
No.
Chris Fletcher more than 20 years ago. Yep. Laravel love, yeah, Laravel is nice. If you start PHP, don't
Laravel is
try it out.
using Vue, by the way,
Yeah,
on the front end,
yeah,
and they chose Vue as the
yeah,
Mhm.
JavaScript layer of the front end. Rails is you doing React, JavaScript, and Elm. Sorry, React, Vue, and Elm. I think
yeah. I think Elm is a
for
very
their
niche
front end.
platform.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So swimming, I would
Yes.
suggest you also go for Vue instead of
I
like
already
diving
know
too deep in
Vue. I already
React.
start. I started Vue by hacking my way out. Not that long
Yeah,
ago.
yeah,
exactly. You can hack Vue. You can learn Vue by just hacking.
yeah,
Whereas in
Yes,
React, you
but
have to actually take a course. See?
no. This the whole point of React is because I want a challenge.
The problem with React is one level abstracted from the DOM, which is good and bad.
Yeah.
The bad part is you doesn't feel like you're writing a web application. The bad is actually you if you try to do something that's need to interact with the DOM, then it become more problematic.
Yeah.
You have to go through loops towards or else you lose out the benefits of their virtual DOM. So yeah, and nowadays with web components, they are like shadow DOM and stuff, which is like native.
Yeah.
Wait, React can always like go Shadow DOM as well.
I don't know about that stance. I'm actually very neutral. This is just a tool. So,
and the last thing I really
now.
hate about Units, you're so obsessed about tools.
What
goodness sake.
I'm lucky that I'm not a nerd.
Okay. If I have to write in Java, I will write in Java.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Sorry.
Actually, before we close up, I actually did some Java and C++. They're okay, but the problem I still don't like about these older languages is that they lack the kind of modern module system that we have.
Yes.
So yes, but you still have to do like the library, include everything. Of course, for Java the IDE will do it for you, but like for C++, you still have to handle the header and stuff, which is come on. Please have something that's better.
Yes.
So that's why I'm still sticking up with whatever that is modern. Like I need my time to do other things. Just finish work and go home and sleep.
Yes. Or read scpwiki.net.
Oh, we forgot to talk about that.
If you guys got bored, go to www.scp-wiki.net.
What is scp.wiki?
SCP is a collaborative story project where everybody there is competition to write a story about an anomalous object being secured, being secured by a secret organization.
So it's like a fan fiction, but for nerds.
Yeah. And the way they write the story is very interesting. And it's organized by numbers.
Okay. That's why I'm confused, because I actually thought that it's actually some sort of a security framework or something like that.
No, it's not SCP. It's not about SCP, the Linux tool, the Unix tools.
Okay. So before we wrap up, do we have anything to add?
No.
Okay.
I try to get some interview coming soon.
Yeah.
Knock me in the head if I
hopefully
forget.
I can get a few more.
Yeah, because I'm sick of talking about myself.
You seem like enjoying it, so
yes, that's all
right. I guess that's about it.
Yes.
Bye, folks. Enjoy Valentine's Day, which is tomorrow. Hope swimming enjoy it as well. So
I hate people.
See you guys next week. Bye.
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 Yeah.